My name is Peter Theo Curtis. I'm a journalist from the city of Boston, Massachusetts, USA.
Hostage negotiation is a matter of life or death. The pressure is intense, the stakes are high, and there's no room for error.
When I arrived on the scene, the terrorist gave us 72 hours to get all the women out of all the prisons in Iraq, or they would kill the hostage. We had about an hour to respond.
So how do you de-escalate the situation? And what secret tactics do FBI negotiators use? Let's find out. Welcome to Xplained. A hostage situation is one of the worst case scenarios for law enforcement.
Just moments later, hostages seen pressing their hands against the window, fear etched on their faces.
Time is short, innocent lives are on the line, and armed intervention risks hostages getting caught in the crossfire or being harmed by the hostage taker. That's when the most important man walks in, the negotiator.
Are we ready?
Yeah, we're ready.
Okay, it's raining. Let me see if he picks up. Richard, you on there?
Yes, sir.
Hey, this is Craig Campbell. How you doing?
How you doing, Sergeant Campbell?
What can I help you with?
I don't know. I seem to be laying on my floor in a pool of blood here.
All right. Can we help you?
Well, I mean, I'm either going to take my life or go to jail for the rest of it. What do you think the best way to do it is?
Well, I think the best way to do it is just take a breather, let us get you some help, and we'll figure it out from there.
FBI negotiators are masters of persuasion and behavior manipulation. They're capable of influencing the most hostile kidnappers and diffusing the worst situations. It starts with talking directly to the hostage taker.
My job is to keep everybody safe, yourself included.
And that means establishing a channel of communication by any means, whether it's over the phone, face-to-face, or with a bullhorn. But how do negotiators take control once a line opens up? Step one is to treat the hostage taker with dignity.
Doing okay in there?
Yeah.
Well, we've tried to reach a hold of Melissa, but we're not having any luck.
Now, this might sound crazy, but listening to them, establishing rapport, and gaining their trust is crucial.
Well, the three ways to de-escalate a heated situation is first, interject with a calming, soothing tone of voice. Not to interrupt, to take over, but just to soothe them and calm them down. Secondly, indicate that you actually are listening by recognizing just small pieces of what they're trying to get across. And if they can see you, if you give them body language that shows you actually are listening, as opposed to waiting to contradict, then they'll slow down because they know the conversation is not going to get hijacked.
Next is to get to the core reason of why they're doing this as quickly as possible. Hostages are just bargaining chips. They can be random people in the wrong place, like with a bank robbery, or they can have symbolic significance when it's a more planned attack. Case in point is the 1972 Munich Olympics. The target was the Israeli government, but the hostages taken were Israeli athletes. The real target or goal of planned attacks is always something else. But how do FBI negotiators manipulate terrorists and kidnappers into revealing hidden information? They tap into their emotions using tactical empathy.
Well, I don't see everybody giving up. I see you and I reaching, you and I working together.
And some of the most effective techniques they use to get them to open up are mirroring and labeling. Mirroring is basically repeating the last 1 to 3 words someone has said and paraphrasing it as accurately as possible. This makes the other party feel like they're being heard.
We've got a van out here. Know anything about it?
You guys chased my driver away.
We chased your driver away?
Labeling, on the other hand, is more like a verbal observation of the feeling behind the last thing that was said. And by calling it out, you diffuse the emotion.
If you dial into somebody's emotions, then the rest of it falls into place. Like example, one guy calls in one night. He says, "Hey, I'm trying to put a lid on this day. I'm trying to put a lid on this day. I'm just trying to put a lid on this day." So instead of asking him any questions, I react to the emotion. He sounded anxious. So I simply said, "You sound anxious." Now I now know the neuroscience backs this up. Calling out a negative emotion deactivates it. That's one of the few things that so far that we've been shown 100% in neuroscience based scientific studies, just calling out the emotion, not denying it, calling it out. So I say, you sound anxious. And his voice immediately came down.
These tactics, combined with the right tone of voice and active listening on the part of the negotiator, encourages the hostage taker to talk, and they usually end up revealing a lot of information. The negotiator's primary objective is to take the hostage taker past their deadline. In fact, the longer a hostage situation lasts, the more likely it will end peacefully. It also gives law enforcement officials a chance to come up with a plan. Delay tactics include drawing the hostage taker's attention to details like what type of car or airplane they want and asking open-ended questions.
What kind of weapons are in the room with you?
But this means hostage situations can last for days to weeks and even months. Things can get exhausting and emotions can run wild. So what do negotiators do if things heat up? Number one is to keep calm and avoid cornering them with logic or reasoning, because the more a hostage taker feels trapped, the more likely they are to do something crazy.
If somebody's hostile, they're probably calling you names, they're speaking over you, they're shouting. If they're speaking over you or shouting, their intent is to be heard, and you can actually say something as pointed as, I can't hear you when you yell at me. That gives the indication that you actually want to hear, and so it tends to get them to stop yelling. If they're calling you names, it's for defensive reasons. They feel backed into a corner. You could say, look, clearly you're under a lot of pressure here. Clearly you feel threatened by me. Clearly you feel backed into a corner. If that doesn't work, you can again hit them with something to the effect of, when you yell at me, I feel frustrated because I can't listen to you. It's kind of a three-part message that makes them think about it, moves their head around in a couple of different directions, but ultimately it indicates that you want to listen. So those are the ways to interject.
If you want to see more videos like this, hit that like button and subscribe to Xplained. It's a delicate balance between showing them they're being heard and not coming across as a pushover.
Well, Mark, I can't send him down there until I know it's safe for him to be down there.
Textbook strategy can take negotiations to a certain level. But besides IQ, negotiators also rely on emotional intelligence.
Universally, the nurture for women to learn soft skills comes sooner, though women tend to pick up this kind of negotiation faster. We've seen it over and over and over and over again. The women pick it up faster, but at the top end, gender doesn't matter.
Right now, in the top end, how many top-end female negotiators versus males do you think there are?
Wow. Probably, in a very stealth way, probably more women overall.
Say what I said, and I've been recording it too.
What would you like me to say?
What did I just tell you that was going to happen if you could just get a number for an FBI agent?
Negotiators also tap into their instinct and develop their own tactics.
I ask good questions, and as much just to get other people to think as opposed to get an answer. Like, what do you want to do next? What do you want me to do? How am I supposed to do that? Each one of those questions could get a great answer, but even more important, what they do is get the other side to think things through in depth, which then just completely changes the situation from adversarial into collaborative.
Hostage negotiations have a 94% success rate, but there are times when things don't go exactly as planned. Experts say that the best way of surviving as a hostage is to get the kidnapper to see you as a person by having them call you by your first name. Some of the worst hostage situations in history include the Air France hijacking by 4 Algerian terrorists in December 1994.
He was seriously injured and fell down the stairs.
The US Embassy hostage situation in Iran in 1979, which lasted for 444 days. And the attacks and hostage crisis in Paris in 2015. And though negotiations in any situation might be a long process, patience and hearing a person out can increase the chance of a positive outcome. What other situations can these negotiation tactics be applied to? Tell us about it in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to Xplained.